place of absolute fun. A tree sits in a world as big as this, untamed, forest, vines tangling as if snakes were slithering around, curling and suffocating the trunks. But somehow, well, not really somehow. Ironically enough, there are those that can survive in these conditions. Hmm. And in this fun little world stands a collector of creation. What is their name in verse? You know I remember. A collector, a creation, in a world where sits a large, beautiful tree. You know this story. It's someone's world. Okay, fine. I'll just say they do not have a name. Would that make things easier? No name is their name. And as everything moved forward in many things as they do, no name was captured and taken to a lovely, beautiful village. Vines suffocating the roots of trees, the houses, the huts, all made from the wilderness that they just so happily use. And in a snap, no name was awakened.
Isn't it awoke?
No, it's awakened in this context.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait, what am I doing here?
Jester.
Oh, fine. What, I like this story. Anyway, let's see. There's a fun little thing.
Jester.
Fine.
Hmm. And all good tales have a reason to what they be. And what is this tale such different from everything else? Well, to have context in what happens, everything must have a beginning. And maybe this is the beginning of a tale. So, sit back, take your seats, because this one is a very sad tale. No name was awoke from this beautiful village. Someone was taking care of her. Who would it be? A nurse. And at the corner of the room, there sat a doctor, tired, bags under his eyes, appearing as if he was awake all night long, taking care of someone. It turns out that someone was, well, no name. The nurse, clearing water towels. And no name has every right to be frightened. So what do you do when you wake yourself in a room full of strangers? You grab the nearest thing, you throw it at someone, 'cause that's what No Name did. And she ran outside, and she sprinted into the woods. And she ran, until she tripped on a rock and hit her face dead on a tree trunk. And just like that, she was out cold. Maybe she should be watching where she is going. Anyway, in a matter of moments, she awoke once again. In the same hut. This time she was tied down. Looks like the doctors and nurses did not want her moving anywhere. They were conversing in a language No Name did not understand. But just from simple context clues, No Name could figure out what was being said. Maybe something about, what do we do with her? What is she? Why is she here? What do we do with her? Many questions that, reasonably enough, can be said. Then, a big man with a sack full of weapons of all sizes and shapes, carried in a backpack full of objects inside. That was No Name's backpack. Satchel, luggage. She collects things, as you can tell by the title of this story. Why does she do it? Why don't you ask her herself? Why does she collect? Well, it goes all the way back. But that's another story for another time. And now, everyone's in absolute shambles of what to do. Insanities, a stranger, and a drought. You never expect there to be a drought in a beautiful forest like this, but there is one. Explains why the vines are growing out of hand, and the plants are fighting tooth and nail for resources. But what do you do in this situation? What do you do, Inverse? You're stuck in a room tied up, full of strangers that currently has your satchel. It's obvious that they care about you in some form, because they patched you up twice now. What do you do in this situation? Well, No Name calmed down and began to learn their language. Very important to know what is going on as well as to get what she wants. As well, it's much easier to converse. It took a couple weeks to learn, but she got the hang of it very quickly. And during all that time, she was recovering. Seems pretty cool. Learning a language while being strapped down to a bed while being taken care of. And during all that time, she heard a series of complaints as well as series of short conversations about droughts, war, and a treasure. A treasure? Well, an offering, most likely. Once a year, these people would offer something to their goddess of some sort. They would go near the tree and place imaginable treasures there. Looks like No Name hit the jackpot. So, using the language, I'd say she learned at least a good portion of it to get what she wants. She easily managed to manipulate the people into getting her near the trunk of the tree. And when she was free, they led her all the way down to the trunk of this enormous, beautiful tree. This tree had a name. Its name was Vethnir. A powerful name for a powerful tree. A tree old as time. No one knows where it came from or how long it stood. It's been there since the beginning of many of their stories, even ones dating back way before. And it was then that No Name realized that the hunter that had her satchel was currently having it on his back. Must be very nice to have all your weapons in one stored place. Specifically, so, because you have a magic satchel able to fit anything you desire in it. But No Name easily outwitted the hunter and got her satchel back. And off they went, carrying the offerings all the way down to the trunk of this beautiful tree, its roots towering over mountains, leaves covering lakes, and its sheer presence. You can break your neck just by looking up at it. Some people will know a thing or two about that. And so No Name, the hunter, and those lifting and carrying the offerings down to the very roots of this tree. Off to the trunk near the bottom, they carried the offerings to a tiny little crevice, a crack in this big tree, and then they entered inside. And once inside, there was darkness, no light emitting from any direction. That is when the hunter tapped on No Name's back and said something to her. And with a spark of light, the spear that the hunter was carrying turned into a torch, and he lit up every little piece inside of this crack. It was tunneled in by something. You can tell by the cracks and the way everything around this tunnel was almost as if it was dug by hand, and how it was positioned by the oils by the side of this whole place, able to forever turn into a lighting torch. What a nice place indeed. And off they went deep inside this tree to take the offerings to their supposed goddess. And after hours of walking, the hunter stopped and pointed down into a deep, deep, deep hole. The others carried the offerings and dumped them into this hole. No Name, of course, was completely flabbergasted that they would throw such treasures into a hole. So, without the others looking, she stole a couple pieces. And when all of them were finished dumping out the treasures, they began walking away. But once they were walking away, there was a big rumble. To their feet, pebbles falling from the roof of this tunnel, shaking, vibrations, all kinds of sounds. The hunter knew something was up, so immediately checked up on No Name, patting her down left and right, and found some of the treasures that she has stolen. No Name immediately knew what was up, so she ran with the treasures while the hunter was running after her. And those that carried the treasures were already running outside, being the first ones out. And as if by magic, the crack that was the entrance to this big tree closed shut. Now the only ones inside were a hunter and No Name. Tick tock, tick tock. That was the sound they were hearing. It was the only sound they can make sense of how much time was passing, because they surely did not know. The hunter knew that returning the treasures wouldn't open the door, even though they tried already. And the crack did not open. So they were stuck in this endless chasm, which is not really endless, but it's large enough to be endless to these small beings. And during all this time, the people outside were trying to find a way to open the crack again. It was all in vain. The hunter and No Name inside were thinking of plans, while No Name was asking for forgiveness for borrowing the treasures, as she said. For it's what she does. She collects things. The hunter just completely ignored her. And once, after a long while, they realized there was no way out. So they both thought of an idea. they reached the edge of this large hole and thought the same thing, to fall into it and to end it all. And together they jumped off, and they fell, and they fell, and they fell. But nothing happened. 1 second turned into 2, then 10, then hundreds. No Name and the hunter could not find each other. And as if in a blink of an eye, No Name stood up, looking around in the darkness. And there in the distance was a woman in blue. No Name was happy to see someone else, so she walked up to her and saw her with a paintbrush of some kind, seeing how she painted certain things in the darkness. The Blue Lady asked if she wanted to paint as well, so that's what she did. Luckily for No Name, she had more than one color, and she had her own paintbrush, but no matter how much she painted, nothing would appear on the blackness. So she asked the Blue Lady if she could borrow her paintbrush. And she said, okay, you can. And as if by magic, the colors that she brought were appearing in the nothingness. Blue dots, yellow dots, red dots, white dots. She would connect these dots and make all kinds of funny images. She would even have many of these dots spiraling in circles, in large clusters. She even made beautiful paintings, eyes, and even had all kinds of explosions of paint near the edges of the canvas. And the Blue Lady said, you are good at this. Is this why you collect things? To create? No Name did not answer, because she was too focused on what she was making. With a smile in her face, she looked back and saw her masterpiece. The Blue Lady said, what do you want to call it? And No Name said, I'll call it Inverse Pen. Nah, I'm just kidding. Nah, that would be a funny story, wouldn't it? Nah, I'll just call it Inverse. and as if by command the stars took shape. Each dot made a beautiful image, and a hole from the tree brought in light, and all the dots escaped into this crack and covered the sky, and everything went dark. The Blue Lady said, "You have done your job well, for I am no longer needed. You can take my place. You do it so much better than me." The story of a collector becoming a creator. What a wonderful tale indeed, don't you think? What did you like about that story, Inverse? What did you like about this tale? This tale of nothing.